a secret now. I see dead people.
Welcome to Blondes and Booze. You are about to embark on a journey, one that often leads to more questions than answers. But fear not, your host, Krista, Aaron, and Brandy have the experience, the perseverance, and yes, even the gifts to pull back the veil and allow us to glimpse the other side. They will share not only their experiences, but will introduce you to world-renowned researchers and experiencers to help you find answers in the murky waters of what we call the paranormal. Their bonds with each other reach far beyond friendship, resulting in a pull-no-punches approach to the many subjects they explore. Their goal? To open eyes, hearts, and even minds to what lies on the other side, and the answers residing there.
Hey everybody, welcome.
Welcome.
Joining us tonight. Happy Friday, Brandy.
Oh gosh, happy Friday. Another week down.
Another week down. Yep, it can only go up now, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So what'd you do today?
Absolutely nothing. I tried not to, It was like, I turned off my air conditioning because it is, it's not been super hot or anything, but today I just couldn't handle it. I had to turn my air conditioning back on, and it's probably the last day.
Yes.
But my goodness, it was just awful. I was like, I can't stop sweating today.
I know it's hot in my house right now, but I'm not turning my air on. I'm not going there. Not quite yet. So anyway, I didn't do much of anything either myself. I see Tex is in chat. Tex, I hope you're doing well. Been thinking about you.
Yeah. I'm sure he's not doing so swift, but it's all for the better. It's all for the better.
Yes. Yep, for sure. Most definitely. You want to remind everybody what to watch this week?
Absolutely. On Mondays at 8 p.m. Central, and this will be our last Monday, by the way, at 8 p.m. Central. It's Texas Front Porch with Tex and myself. November 6th, we will then be starting our show at 7 p.m. Central. So make sure you set your timers, alarm clocks, whatever you need, and hit your notification buttons to make sure that's on. On Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central, it is Beyond BMR with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. On Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central, it's Donnie Cho Says Stuff. Also on Wednesday evening, we have Danielle Diva in the Diva Dimension. On Thursdays at 12 p.m. Central, we have Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob and his lovely co-host, Krista. Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. Central. Of course, it's us with Blondes and Booze. And on Fridays at 8 p.m. Central, we have Blondes, Booze, and the Woo. So if you just can't get enough on Thursday, we're here on Fridays. Saturdays at 2 p.m. Central, Tex and Danielle Diva release their newest episode of Infamous Minds. And of course, on Sunday nights at 6 p.m. Central, it's Midwest Night Watchers. So make sure you tune into them. They got some really cool stuff out there. So
yeah, absolutely they do. Trying to kind of go through chat here real quick. There's a lot of people in chat tonight. We appreciate everybody.
Yeah, I was trying to say stuff, we're talking and I'm trying to chat and I didn't say hi to everybody, but hi everyone.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I miss anybody. I apologize, but we do appreciate everybody being here with us tonight. I'm excited about tonight's show. Tonight I have I said my high school best friend, but however, we've been friends since the 4th grade, and she was always my partner in crime. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring Kelly up.
Yeah, you know what? This is going to be so fun with Kelly because I'm going to tell you why. Because then we get a little glimpse what you were doing when you were a kid, you know?
She can't hear us. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear now? We were just talking backstage.
I know.
That is so weird. Oh boy, I don't know what to tell her to do. Do you, Brandy?
She has to go into her settings and turn her audio back on. I bet she turned her audio off somehow.
Maybe. Go out and come back in.
Let me just try this.
Yeah. We just had her. We were
Let me just wave at her for just a second. Go out and then come back in. Go out and then come back in. I don't know how to do this any better. Go out, and then come back in.
Yeah.
I don't know if she understood what I said. Oh, she might have.
Yeah.
She might have understood me at that point. You know, I mean, this stuff happens. You got to expect it.
Yep.
I'm
we were just talking to her backstage. So
I know. It's like I said, my internet is like the world's worst. You know,
Yeah.
it's horrible. You know, and then I've noticed that the only time that it runs correctly is when I got, you know, pretty decent storms coming in. And I'm like, why is that?
Right.
I don't get it.
Come and get us too. I think tomorrow we got like 90% of like heavy rain all day tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and where I live, of course, it's all farmland. And they got this bright idea to get out there and start tilling out there. And the dust is flying. So I've been sneezing and hacking. And, you know, it doesn't matter if you have your windows closed or nothing. You know, this stuff is getting in your house. I mean, it's like you can even like taste it.
Yeah.
And, you know, finally, we got a little bit of rain last night, just enough to dampen the ground a little bit. So I felt a little bit better last night.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully tomorrow it'll cut the rest of it out of the air because it was just flying everywhere.
Yeah. And like you said, it is hot. I looked over at my thermostat and it says 76 in my house. No wonder I'm sitting here sweating.
Well, mine said 79.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, this is not working. I can't sleep when it's 79.
Right.
You know, even in the wintertime, I don't turn my heat up above like 68. That is the max.
Mm-hmm.
68 is the max when it comes to heat because I can't sleep when it's hot.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way. But I'll tell you what, it's pretty warm. We'll give Kelly here she is.
She's coming in back in. Maybe this will do the trick.
Yeah, I think it's
there we go. Yay.
Somehow, some way it turned me off. And I'm over here going, well, you guys better use some good sign language because I'm not catching it all.
Like, let me try this. Go out and then come back in.
That I can understand. Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And it worked, right?
Yes, ma'am. We're on.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there you go. There it is.
Right.
Anyway, but like I was saying, you know, I'm interested in talking with you because then we get to hear a little bit about how Krista was as a teenager, you know, a child and a teenager, you know, because you always wonder about that stuff. You're like,
yeah,
you know, was she weird, you know, or was she normal?
Well, if we were BFFs, I think that would be we were weird together or normal together.
Yeah.
Definitely went through our experimental times, you know.
Right. Exactly.
She was definitely my ride or die. Like every Friday and Saturday night we were together. We've been in car accident together. I mean, you name it. It's
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
All the underage dance clubs. Krista just absolutely loved to dance. So I'd drag her out there and she'd be just grinning. I'm done.
I'll stand over here. You just go ahead. I'll be all right.
That's right.
Oh yeah. We did it all. And you know.
So we have a quite a wide range of experiences. And I don't know, which one are we going to talk about first here?
What do you think?
We can talk
let's talk about a Ouija board. So let's talk about that one first. Let's get started with that one and what your experiences were, because I know there's a story here somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where did we even get that doggone game at? Was it in
My
the
grandma.
basement? Okay.
My grandma.
So it was from your grandma.
Mhm.
And I don't know if she had bought it new or if it was something that she had had for a while and just pulled it out. So, I mean, was there a story behind how she came across it?
No, I
No,
think
it's a
she just
it's
bought
a
it
story
for me.
between you two. What happened there?
Yeah, she just bought it for me, and
Okay.
back then it was considered a game, and that's what it was. It was a freaking Parker Brothers or Hasbro or whatever that was.
You're right. You're right.
You
So
know?
yeah, we did. We sat down and played with it a couple of times. And then of course that one time, asking questions and getting the responses of Sam. That was the name of the
Who we were
entity.
talking to.
Yeah.
But let's back up because like we thought it was cool, but however now we know it wasn't.
Oh,
So do you
gosh.
remember back in the 80s, everybody had the big tall stereos?
The boom box?
You know, the big ones with
Yeah,
the big
you know.
speakers.
Oh, you're talking about the ones that had the turntable and
Had
the whole
everything on it.
cassette thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, we learned our lesson. We didn't do this after we gave up the Ouija boards, but I'm going to tell you what we did because we kind of went dark. We the stereo had like the numbers where you seen the actual numbers, not the dial, and we would turn it to 666.
Okay.
Oh my.
We also, I had a cross in my room, and we would turn it upside down. And we would do the Ouija board.
Okay.
You
See,
remember that?
there's always those little bits and pieces that I just forget about.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
we would ask like normal teenage questions, I guess.
Yeah,
Am I going to get married? Am I going to have kids?
How
And,
many kids? Right. Typical teenage questions.
Right. And at the time, I guess we probably started this when we were maybe, I'm guessing, I would say around 15.
Yeah.
And
we weren't driving yet, or else we would be out at Six Flags or something.
Right. And so we started out just asking normal questions. Well, then there was a spirit that we talked to all the time, and as Callie said, his name was Sam. And wasn't he like a 13-year-old boy or something? He told us he was.
He had fought in a war, so I think we were thinking that maybe he had, I forget how many, but he claimed to have so many past lives. So
That's right.
One of those things that it was a different story. But I do, the one that I always remembered was Sam because he was in the war. It never said what war, just a war. So,
yeah. And, told us things. And, we asked, when we're going to die and, things like that. Just, stupid questions.
Yeah.
And we kind of had a couple weird things happen. Kelly, you want to tell them?
Well, I'm trying to think of all of them, but I know most of it happened at your house because that's where we usually did it. Thank God we at least had the common sense to exit the game correctly. We never left it open. At least, as stupid as that would be, we at least did something right.
Right.
But yeah, I remember. Was it a remote control at your house that disappeared for, I thought it was days, and then popped right up in front and center all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me about that. And I thought you said your curling iron or something had disappeared for a while as well. Yeah,
it was just weird. Things would just disappear, and never. My house was not haunted at all. At all growing up. And so for things like that to happen, and we were young and stupid. We didn't attribute it really to the Ouija board.
No, not really. I think it took a while before it was like that aha moment. It was like, oh no, did we cause that?
Right.
So, I know I never had a Ouija board game at my house, and I remember one time when I was home alone, I had done it all in paper, wrote it down on a piece of notebook paper and was, playing it by myself. And I remember the next morning, I was getting ready for school. And I remember I had my little boom box that would sit on top of my dresser. And I was listening to my music, and all of a sudden it turned off. And, you don't think anything of it. You go back in there, you turn it back on.
The same. Your house was not haunted either.
Oh, God, no. It was built brand new. The grounds weren't from anything bad.
Yeah.
We had never had any problems before either. So, but yeah, it was one of those cat and mouse back and forth things. It was like, it would turn off. I'd go turn it back on, turn it off, back on. And after a while, it was like, I think that was when I had my aha moment, because I stood there and was like watching it turn off. And I just, all of a sudden I had that moment. I was like, it's plugged in. There's no reason for this. And I remember turning it off going, I'm just going to get ready for school and I'm not touching that thing again. So it's.
And we dabbled with it for quite a while, actually.
Yeah. We went to a party too, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want to talk about the party night?
Yeah, I forgot all about that. We had gone to just, I guess, your typical teenage house party. And they did have a room where a handful of us, I think they lit some candles and we were doing the Ouija board stuff. Mm-hmm. And whatever it was, I had already been spooked from the radio incident. So I had... I was kind of sitting there, kind of going back and forth. I was very on edge. So, I forget what it was. It said something about me. And,
the candles went out. I was in that room when that was going on. The candles all went out. And they had, honestly, it wasn't like a party like we should have been at, to be honest with you. It was more, they were kind of like trying to, I guess, conjure up something. They had all the candles and I remember the dark candles. I remember the white candles. No telling what they were doing. And we were young. I know. At this time, we were able to drive. So we were probably 16 or 17. However, the party we were at, these people were probably in their 20s?
I would say it was a little bit older group. And I don't recall even really remembering too many people there. So that's why when everything kind of blew out, I went, I'm done. And
you freaked out.
I ran upstairs and I think I went into another room and was just trying to grasp what was going on. And I believe, was it you, Krista, or someone else had come upstairs later and said, that thing's asking for you by name.
Yeah, it was me. I was down there because I actually was partaking in it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that was close enough to fun that I wanted to get to.
And honestly, after that night is kind of when we thought, this isn't right. We shouldn't be doing this.
It just it wasn't like a fun game. I guess you do it with other people that are actually trying to get into mischief, and you don't want to participate in that.
No.
And I think that's about the time that, they were talking about, what was it? Beelzebub, if you said his name 3 times. Yeah. And I don't remember if you were on the roof of a house and you said it 3 times and you jump and,
Right.
Always, it was almost like you had to do it in sequence. And it was, after that, I was like, I don't even want to tempt it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Smart.
Yeah. Well, Krista and I have always talked about this, and maybe it's because really her own experiences. We do state that sometimes kids do get together. They use these things. At least you all knew how to close it properly. That was a good thing. Yeah. But they get together. They use these things. They open them up and create a whole mess that they can't take care of.
Yeah.
Right.
And it sounds like that when you went to this party, that's exactly what they were trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had no business being there. We really
Yeah.
didn't.
And
And after that, we almost really kind of had literally a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, Kelly and I were together every Friday and Saturday night. If I wasn't at her house, she was at mine. But when we were at mine, we was always hitting my mom's liquor cabinet and playing with the Ouija board.
Yeah.
Is exactly what we did.
Yeah.
And the Ouija board, it became, it was like a huge part of our life for quite a little while, actually.
Yeah. And we thought we were having fun with it, but then as things started to happen and
right.
And
what's really, really messed up about this particular Ouija board. So years later, my mom had it in her basement, put it in the box. It was in her basement. My kids, grew up and they were at my mom's house and they found the Ouija board. They started doing the Ouija board and they told me they talked to someone named Sam.
Right.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Attached to the board.
Yeah.
Which I almost wonder, in a sense, was that good that it was still attached to the board, that it didn't come home with me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you're looking at it that way, I mean, it's not good, in any kind of sense, but in that way it is, it's like, well, if it's still attached to the board, then it's not with me.
Right.
Which,
yeah,
you got lucky.
So after that, because I didn't know my kids were doing it and I had a come apart on them, and took the board. And then my mom ended up having a garage sale and she sold the board in the garage sale. So it was gone after that, but that
somebody else got to be friends with Sam, I guess.
Yeah. And that's what really freaked me out because I thought, when you're doing the board, and you have your fingers on the planchette, I swear I wasn't moving it. Kelly swore she wasn't moving it.
Right.
So there's always still that in the back of your mind. However, when my kids said they talked to someone named Sam and I had never talked to them about this Ouija board, that freaked me out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do remember you asking me about that. You were like, do you remember what did that guy say? What did they say their name was? And I told you Sam and you said, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So. And I think I think Brittany or something was around and we said something to her, remember? And she verified that it was that Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was just a weird encounter, and
they definitely put a lot of hype into it. There's, obviously around this time of year, they hype it up more.
Mm-hmm.
But back then they had Motley Crue shout at the devil and, playing the records backwards.
Yeah.
All that jazz.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's not any different today. It's just, the music's just a little different. But it still has all that kind of stuff in it,
Yeah.
And I mean, there's people in chat talking about burning a board.
Yeah.
That's a no-no.
Yeah, that's a no-no.
That's a no-no. You're never supposed to burn it because if you don't close it, you're just burning it and releasing whatever's there out.
Yeah.
So
Sharon makes the comment. She says, shouldn't you bury it to seal it up? I don't know. Actually, yes, burning it and then putting salt on it is a way that
after you close it, you can burn it and then put salt on it and then bury it.
Yeah.
You can do all of those things. And that will take care of it. All of the above. Throw a little bit through some iron nails in there. Whatever, just do your thing. Just put it all in there,
My ex-husband, actually, he used to have, I want to say he had a Ouija board and he had tarot cards. And when we were dating, he was doing the tarot cards, and I forget, there was something he never told me, but he came across a spot that he was talking about, I guess, lifespans and stuff like that. And whatever it was, it freaked him out, and he went out that night and burned the board and the tarot cards.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't even understand what I'm missing here because he never told me.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It's just, today would I use a Ouija board? No. However, and I know people have heard me say this before. I believe it's about your intention. And I believe, is the board bad? No, but it comes from your intention. So if you're putting bad thoughts and trying to do bad things, honestly, maybe we were. I don't know, because putting the 666 on the stereo and turning the cross upside down, is pretty stupid.
Yeah.
Unknowingly. But at the time, I mean, I do forgive you girls.
Thank you.
But at the time, you know, they were playing a lot on that, like you were talking about with the music and the things like that, even though that's not what they were meaning.
Yeah.
It's like most teenagers took it as that on the darker side of things.
Sure.
And yeah, you know, I've heard a lot of stories where there was a lot of mayhem created in the 80s.
Yeah.
Right.
And honestly, we were lucky. We were lucky because, you know, I've done a lot of private cases that where the Ouija boards did bring something in. And, you know, how Kelly and I scathed from that, I'll never know, because we did the board a lot.
You know, and I almost wonder, I could be way off base, but I almost wonder because, you know, you had already been showing signs of being sensitive back when we were teenagers. So, you know, I would wonder if, you know, spirit guides weren't already looking out, you know.
Yeah.
They always look out for you, for your best interest. So that's the only thing that I could think of was, you know, it's
somebody was watching out for us.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Absolutely. We've got a question from Be Kind. She says, what if your intentions are innocent and ignorant as a child, but maybe not the same from other kids? I think it is all about your intention. You know, we weren't asking really dark questions. You know, it might be like, you know, I like this guy, or we would get on the board, you know, does such and such like Krista back, or, you know, things like that. So our intention.
You weren't trying to conjure.
Right. No. So I do believe that has everything to do with that. However, if we were trying to, you know, as you said, conjure something or, you know, whatever, then I do believe it could have went south for us.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I understand it as a game, as, you know, something just to play around with. But I think when you fall into that bad spot is when you're doing it on a daily basis. And the questions, how many, let's be honest, how many innocent questions can you think of to ask? You know,
right.
There comes a point.
Right.
If it's an unhappy spirit or something malevolent, they're definitely going to try to manipulate. So I think it's the more use, maybe the scarier it can get.
Yeah. Yeah. And no telling if we would have continued after that party, you know, had we continued what road we could have went down. You know, I don't know. You know, we really weren't bad kids, but I mean, we did the teenage drinking, you know, the first time we ever smoked pot was together, you know, we did all that kind of stuff. You know, but
you experimented, and that's to be expected. You know, I mean, it was a different world back then where teenagers and stuff would experiment versus what they're doing today, actually getting hooked on these new, I call them designer drugs because that's what they are. And it's a whole different world. It's different.
Yeah. You're right.
You know, it's a lot scarier place today than it was when we were kids, you know.
I was waiting for it to go full circle and we'd just be back at the beginning, you know.
I know. Wouldn't that be nice? You know.
I know. I don't know. I think once we get it all figured out, that's when we graduate to the spirit world.
Right. You know,
yeah. Brandy, you have a question. Bristol asked, assuming you come across a board that the last session hasn't been closed properly, what would the proper way to close it?
Well, that's kind of like a double-edged sword. That's depending on if I knew who had it last. Right. Now, say if I went into a haunted location and there was just one in there that somebody had left, I would not touch it. I would not touch it. I wouldn't even mess with it. I would just leave it alone and just not even and bother with it. And that's not my line of communication, so I wouldn't deal with it. Now, if it was something in my own home and I didn't open it and I don't know who opened it, I would bury it with salt and iron. I would bury it. I wouldn't burn it by any means. If it's not closed, don't burn it. But I would encase it in salt and holy water and bury it.
Yeah. JD Smooth has a question. And
I have a feeling that yes, he was, because like I said, it was kind of a comfort to know that it was still attached to the board after time. But obviously, there was something out there that was enough that it apparently messed with my stuff at home, and we weren't even there doing it. So
Right.
I have a feeling if something's going to be that mischievous, I don't think that's all good.
Right. I
No,
would agree with you.
I would agree. I would agree. That's not all good. But then again, I would question whether you did close the board properly if it was still out causing havoc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Sharon Lane makes a comment. If someone is going through a rough patch in life and reach out to such things, it can go sideways real fast, in my opinion. Absolutely.
Yes.
I would
Yes.
wholeheartly agree with you.
Yes.
You know, and I don't have a Ouija board anymore, but I did get a pendulum last year, and I was starting to work with it. And, I'll be honest, I think I spooked myself a little bit because it's a divination tool, just like all the other stuff. It doesn't matter if you call it a Ouija board or a pendulum, but
Absolutely.
it can still stir up the same exact stuff. And then to myself, is it lying to me? Or, that's where I get into, if I'm not 100% confident, then I don't want to trust the answers that are coming my way.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, because Krista and I talk about this quite a lot, actually, that anytime you open any type of communication, it could be a spirit box, it could be a seance, it could be just talking to them in a room if you think they're in there. Opening any type of communication to them could lead to the same thing. That's why people are just like, they're scared of Ouija boards, but I'm telling you what, there's more ways to do the same damage. It's just all in intent. You got to make sure that when you're doing this, you have a firm, you've set your borders. You know what I mean? This is where we're going to go. We're not going past. This is what we're doing. And then when you're done, you're like, bye, we're done.
Right.
I'm closing this door right now. Right. So like I said, Ouija boards they're not the evil thing. No. They're not evil. No. It's just kind of like with any way of communication, you just have to shut the door.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so, I think it's just a matter of, your intentions myself.
Right.
And like I said, I was trying to approach it with a clear, open mind and be kind and put yourself in the light and in your bubble. And it just seemed like once I tried to focus and center a little bit more after I started working with crystals, my pendulum doesn't like to work for me anymore.
Oh,
really?
I don't know. It's really weird.
Yeah, I could see that. Now, when I'm overloaded with crystals, I hear nothing, I see nothing, nothing happens. I'm just overloaded. I'm overprotected.
You're
so
right.
You kind of have to unload all of that stuff, to a point where you can get communication and things like that, but still be protected and still feel that good vibration, but you may be overloaded.
That's awesome, because I didn't think of that, because where I have stored it in the little velvet bag is actually right on top of my entire crystal collection. So that would make sense, because it's been giving me the shaky vibration, like I don't know. So that would make sense. So thanks. I'm going to give that a try.
You're like,
I'm going to be overloaded with her when we're done.
We have some more questions here. Mike A asks, do you think ghosts are remnants of people that have died? What do you guys think?
I do.
I wouldn't call them remnants. I would call them souls.
Yeah.
Yeah. They know of a life that they had, but they know a different life, in a different realm, so, again, we don't know who we're talking to when we think we're, communicating with Aunt Sally, and it may not be Aunt Sally.
And
you know.
how bad are you wanting that? That's the other thing is, have you
Yeah.
convinced yourself that's who you're talking to, or
Right.
do you
Right.
just
Because
do
it's
you
not, it doesn't have to be demonic to say, hey, I'm your Aunt Sally.
right?
It could be
Right.
just a nasty going, hey, I'm your Aunt Sally. Come on, I'll talk
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to make your life a living.
Well,
But
you
that,
know,
that doesn't mean they're demonic. That just means they're a nasty.
oh yeah. Well, for instance, when my father, he passed away back in May, and I really have kind of waited, haven't really reached out and done much, experimenting as far as trying to connect, but I told my mom, I said, oh gosh, probably a few weeks ago, that I had gotten on my spirit box, and I was over by his cremains. And, I told her, I said, it's kind of funny because it reminded me a lot of my dad, because I said,
Mhm.
it was one of those, Dad, are you here? Do you, can you speak with me? And he came in, and his voice, I said, Dad, are you here? And I heard him go, yep, which is how he always answered me. And I said, do you think you want to have a little a chat with me? And he said, not yet. So
Oh, yeah.
I know he's always been a little socialite. So who knows what he's doing? But I'm waiting patiently for my turn. But like I said, how bad do I want to think that that's him versus something else? So,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, just know
Well,
too, like your dad is always around you. You just gotta be open to, feel that too, and look for signs, and
Yeah.
he'll give you
yeah,
signs.
I think they pop in and pop out. They're not there all the time. I don't think. I think they've got other people to see.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
other people to talk to. I think they pop in and pop out. It's just like when you're not thinking about it or whatever. That's when you're going to be like, oh, there he is.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we've had a couple of instances and stuff like that. So, and then like I said, that just to me, that just ties into, how badly do you want that to be what you think it is? So, but
Right.
I never, I know you're supposed
Yeah.
to trust your gut and instinct, but there's times when I know that it was him, and there's other times it's kind of like, I don't know about that one.
Mm-hmm. Well, your dad wasn't into any of this, though.
No, not at all. But he was an electrical engineer, and he did believe that your body, has energy. So in a sense, yeah, he believed in all of it. He just didn't believe it in
He
this form.
he didn't say ghost.
No, nope.
He just said electrical manifestation or something of the similar. He's like, it's electric.
He said, I'm an engineer. Everything is electrical and, energy. And that's all it is. Just energy. And I said, well, where's that energy going to go when you go? Well, you just go. I'm like, okay, you talk to me when when things change. So,
Yeah.
Right.
So when you go, come back and let me know.
I
'Cause
know.
I want to know.
I know, man. That's kind of what I'm hanging on for.
You're just like,
I'm waiting for him to say he's wrong.
well, and you know what? I mean, he could be waiting for, our inevitable day.
That's
And
right.
you're going to be heading on your way to the light, and he's going to be, oh yeah, by the way, it's time to talk to you now.
Yeah, no kidding.
You're going to be like, it's a little late now. Now I know.
Oh, man.
JD Smooth asked, do you think ghosts are souls that are scared to go to the light? Good question.
I don't know.
I think it
I
varies
think that
myself.
Yeah.
So I believe, this is my belief. I believe ghosts and spirits are two different things. A ghost is a ghost, like what you hear all the time. I believe a spirit is our loved ones who can come back and visit us, anytime that they want to. When we call on them, they're around us. So that's my views. However, ghosts stay here for a number of reasons. It could be, number one, they don't even know that they're dead.
True.
It could be, they're looking for answers for something that they didn't get here in life, or, You know,
They just don't want to go.
right. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
it could be a mixture of things is my opinion. You know, what do you guys think?
Yeah. I think there's just a whole lot of things like they just don't want to go. I mean, honestly, I believe we can't make them cross over.
Yeah.
You know, we can help them to the light, but that doesn't mean they're going to go. You know, I mean, that is not our job.
Right.
You know, and I just think that there's this whatever they've got going on in their feelings is what determines what happens.
Yeah.
We just don't have any control.
Absolutely. I want to answer Catherine's question real quick. They were in chat. They were talking about CE5. Catherine, she doesn't know what CE5 is, and I'll explain it real quick. CE5 is kind of like a meditation and calling in aliens and UFOs, basically. It's you know, you go outside and you meditate up to the sky, you know, and open yourself up to seeing something or experiencing something. And you know, Brandy and I actually have a good friend, Terry, and she's big time into the CE5 and but that's what that is. So I just wanted to.
Yeah, it's Dr. David Greer, by the way. You can look up his videos on YouTube or anything like that if you need to get a more in-depth, you know, definition. But it's Dr. David Greer.
I'll tell you what. I was going to say.
Oh, go ahead, Kelly.
You talk about that. I know that's not, you know, that's totally different end of it. But, you know, when I was taking that class for Reiki, the one Reiki cert, they actually had us do, you know, a group meditation for about an hour. And I tell you what,
Stephen Greer. I'm sorry. Lily Pond corrected me. Stephen Greer. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, under that meditation, and once we came out and we all took notes, there, when you talk about, you know, up there and the stars and UFOs, and I felt like I had an awful lot of knowledge about things that I should know. That I wouldn't think of. So definitely, that's that CE5. Is that
one?
That would definitely be.
That's the one that Lily Pond corrected me on. Don't ask me what I was saying, David. I don't know. Give me a minute. I don't know. It's hot. I'm hot in here.
Right.
Maggie M10, she asked, is a pendulum a bit like a dowsing rod? What do you guys think?
I think it's just another divination tool, but I don't think you're going to get a whole lot of answers unless they're all just yes, no. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that dowsing rods are a little bit harder to use, especially if you have medical reasons why you know, some people shake a little bit or for different reasons that they can't hold still. And, you know, ADHD is a big one, and they just can't stay focused on them dowsing rods. So they won't work as well for somebody who is calm and can stay focused.
Right.
A pendulum, on the other hand, all you're doing is sitting there holding it and let it do its thing.
Yep.
You know, but those dowsing rods, my arms get tired. My arms get real tired trying to hang on and hold them still. So it's kind of like, for me, that I'll use them, but it's not one of my favorite things to use.
Yeah. See, I don't use dowsing rods. However, a pendulum, I believe, you know, they're different because a pendulum, you want it to connect to you. So, you know, if not all pendulums connect with all people, you know, Jelly can't say, here's my pendulum, try this. It won't do nothing for me.
That's right.
You know, and dowsing rods, anybody can grab them and do them.
Yeah, that's true. And even with pendulums and dowsing rods, my favorite is copper. That seems to work best for me. Not that crystals won't work for me, but copper seems to work the best for me. So I suggest trying out different types, you know, and see what works for you best.
I tell you what, when I went to pick out my pendulum, I want to say I was at that store for probably 45 minutes to an hour. Just kind of walk, I walk around and look at things. I'd come back and just kind of look, and I kind of had it narrowed down to two of them, and they were both kind of wah wah talking to me. So,
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm only going to get one. I'm not going to go nuts and get two. So,
Oh, get two.
I know. Maybe,
Just get
maybe
two.
that's why my pendulum has been so iffy about things. It's missing its partner.
Right.
And that's possible. That's possible. But that's our recommendation is go try them out.
Right.
Don't
That's
just buy one thinking it's going to work, because it doesn't.
right.
Right.
That's what I did with my daughter my youngest, when she was ready to get one. I took her up there and I said, don't expect to be in and out. I said, we're going to shop. You'll come back and look. We'll shop some more. You'll come back and look again. And she's like, well, I don't understand. What do I do with my hands? And I'm like, you just do what feels right.
And the same thing with crystals too. When you go in to buy a crystal,
I picked up a boatload of them and kind of feel what feels right to me.
Right. That's
they look at you crazy because you're like holding them in your hands and you're putting them on your face, and then you're like on your arm. You're like, am I feeling anything? Does it feel different here?
Right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yep. Jim Smooth asked, do you think ghosts or spirits can cause health issues?
Absolutely, yes. If it's a malevolent thing, yes.
Yep, I would agree. Absolutely.
Yes.
I've heard
especially, and there's other things. If you're an empath and you're feeling, what these things are feeling, and I say things because we don't know exactly what they are, and I'm not going to, I can only guess.
Yeah.
But if you're feeling like if it were an old man who had chronic back pain for all of his life, you're going to feel that on the spot.
Yeah.
So, it's just kind of like, if they can do that to somebody, I believe that they can cause health issues. Yes.
Yeah, I do too. Wholeheartedly.
Absolutely.
There's some, I don't know, I think that there's, ghosts that maybe don't even mean to, or like, if somebody is a little sensitive, like if somebody passed away, because of a heart attack, they might get chest pains, and not that, it's a ghost doing that to them. It's just that they're feeling that person.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, Kelly, what would you do in that situation if, you had a spirit that was very close, standing close to you or whatever, and they were projecting that on you? And that's the only way I can say is they're projecting their pain on you and you're feeling it. What would you do in that situation?
Well, I would have to probably make sure that it was not me losing my mind. No, I would definitely, try to be up here, try to be logical about it, because, sometimes we get up in our head about it too. And that energy it thrives on. So I don't want to feed into it. So, if I think I'm feeling something, I'll just kind of be in the moment. I'll be like, okay, because I know this is going to pass, because it's not staying with me,
Right.
What do you think about attachments?
Well, like I said, I don't think I liked it when it happened, because I felt like I hadn't invited anything to come and hang out with me. And, when things were happening.
Is it something that you can talk about? What happened? The whole
thing?
No.
I mean, just like, when we did our boom box and, talking about how it was turning off and on. Well, I didn't, it's almost like having a friend over that you didn't invite, or have somebody over that's not a real good friend. And you're like, why are you here? I don't recall telling you could be here.
Right.
That's kind of how how I felt, because it scared me. It was like, well, wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
Why is it even here? I don't recall saying, come home with me, or, anything like that. So
do you think that the knowledge you've learned now would have really helped you out when you were a young child?
Probably not, because I still would have done the same silly stuff. But it would have. But I think being young, you still like to try and push things to your comfort zone.
Mhm.
Yeah. BMR, thank you. Okay, Kelly, what was Krista really like? She's not telling.
I'm trying to pull it out of them. I'm trying, Rob. I'm trying to pull it out of them. I swear.
She's that friend literally that knows my deepest, darkest secrets, and vice versa. So
a lot of brain cells that have been lost through the years. So, maybe I don't remember all of it so well, but.
But thank you, BMR, for that.
Oh, gosh.
Little Patty says a lot of the chat felt sick when the girls were at the Richmond Museum. Now, Kelly, you went to the Ray County Museum. You've been there.
Mm-hmm.
And during a ghost hunt that we did. And I think you were there the night, I think the Kling brothers were there. Wasn't it that one?
Yeah. In fact, that was the evening that I had both of my girls there.
You did.
And Melissa, she was the one that smarted off about, they were in the classroom, and she smarted off about, I don't like homework, or I don't like school, or something. Her and her sister were joking around, and she smarted off, and she got a scratch through.
She sure did. I do remember that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, we're gonna have to hold you up for just a minute. We're creeping up on our 52-minute mark. We're gonna have to take our 5-minute break to pay the bills here. Yeah, and you talk about the museum, and like I said, Chris and I both have our children there all the time. It's not like we don't find anything super negative in there, but I mean, we take our children with us to quite a few places that we deem that are okay. Yeah. I mean, there are places I wouldn't take my children, but yeah, there's a lot of those.
Holy hell. I mean, my daughter and I fell asleep on the floor. Melissa and I fell asleep on the floor in there. So it was that bad.
Well, there you go.
She wasn't.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
when we come back, guys, I was going to say, stick with us. Kelly also had an encounter with Puckwudgies too that she's going to talk about.
Let's talk about some Puckwudgies.
Yeah, so we'll get to that also when we come back. So everybody stick with us. We will be back in, the drill, 5 minutes.
All right.
Perfect.
Welcome back. Appreciate it. Just in time, Kelly.
I know. Sliding in.
Just sliding in. Yeah.
Just
I'm coming
sliding
in
in.
hot, people.
Right. Real quick, I want to thank Letitia Nunley for becoming a member. We appreciate that very much. We appreciate you and Bart. Love you
Absolutely.
both. Thank you to BMR, my Thursday partner in crime. And also want to thank Maggie M10. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And Pancho Zorch, thank you very much. And he also asked, who's an aper and who's a wooer? Well, let me tell you, Pancho, we met you at the Ozark conference. And that evening, I don't know if you've heard that story or not, but we went back and camped, and we had a Bigfoot encounter. And what I saw that night, I have to say, was 100% flesh and blood. I did not see any woo to it. There wasn't any orbs or anything like that to it. That was our encounter. However, some people believe, that they're interdimensional and things like that.
But but we have been in places where we've seen orbs along with different things that we can't identify. So we're just kind of on the fence about a lot of it. But what we saw, what we encountered over there in Ozark, Missouri, was definitely flesh and blood. That is what I saw.
That's what we saw, what we encountered.
They're all encompassed together, because it could be. I mean, I know we've talked about it before, Krista, you and I, and then the whole portals thing. And who's to say that, any spirit is stuck here on Earth, if they can find that portal with Bigfoot, they can slide in and out all they want.
Yeah, absolutely. I just, Kelly, what are your views on Bigfoot?
I don't know. I haven't done a whole lot of research on it, but I tell you, I have. I've just kind of watched a few things here and there. And why? Now, here's my big question they're asking me about. But my question is, why is it so hard when we see something that is not of this world? Why is it so hard for any of us to get any kind of hard proof documentation? Why?
Well, see, that's where it goes back to. A lot of people believe like they can cloak, and then there's some people who believe, that it's adaptive camouflage too.
They're letting us see. I mean, some of these videos that you watch, and clearly they are seeing you and you're seeing them, and they seem to be okay with it and just walk away. Then there's others that are like, I don't want to be seen, and then all of a sudden they're just out of the picture. So it's just so frustrating.
Yeah, it is.
I want to believe. I want to be.
Right. Well, Brandy and I and Letitia Nunley, she's in chat. We were all over at and War Criminal. He's in chat also. He was over there with us at the Land Between the Lakes, and we did see some kind of creature peering out like of a behind trees. And Brandy saw eye shine. However, that evening we were seeing orbs too out in the middle of the woods. There wasn't anybody out there. There was none of our people were out there walking with flashlights. There, blue orbs were.
It's the middle of January. It's the middle of January. It's cold. It's like nobody was out there anyway, and nobody was out there walking around. We were sitting there by the fire and freezing, watching all this stuff happen. So nobody was just out there walking around with flashlights and with different colored lenses. It just wasn't working.
Right.
So however, Land Between the Lakes, and I've said this many times, it's very haunted. It's a very haunted location too. There's a lot of ghosts there. However, I don't know. I can't say that it was Bigfoot related that night or that it wasn't. I don't know. So that if that makes us some woo, then we're a little woo, because we can't explain that. However, our actual Bigfoot encounter that we saw, that was flesh and blood on that side of it. So
that was the bomb, ladies. That was the bomb. Because I remember the last time I was visiting with you, Krista. So see, and when you asked me about that, I do believe that stuff. But like I said, I just feel like it's all somehow encompassed because I don't know, flesh and blood, we're flesh and blood now. So, when we pass, we're not flesh and blood anymore, but we were at one point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
absolutely.
it's crazy. It's just crazy what goes on in this world. And I think back, my parents divorced when I was 10, and Kelly used to go to my dad's with me. My dad lived in a really small town in the middle of nowhere in Catawissa, Missouri, which is in Franklin County. And she and I were all over those woods.
With a BB gun.
With the BB gun. We'd go shoot birds with the BB gun. True story.
That makes it better.
Right. Yes. And, it amazes me because I've heard of so many reports of Bigfoot out of that area, but we didn't have a care in the world. We weren't scared. We weren't thinking anything. We never saw anything as kids or, nothing like that. It's just.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like,
well,
I don't know.
I am in Franklin County all over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And armed with my telescope. That's about it.
Right. So let's hear about some Puckwudgies.
Okay.
Because these things are totally out of my wheelhouse.
Well, okay. So needless to say, I honestly had no idea anything like that ever existed. So it was one of those things where, like I was telling Krista, it was probably 20 plus years ago. My ex-husband and I used to go to Kirksville, Missouri to go hunting. And, usually we would go down there early, like a few days before hunting season would start for rifle and, go sit and they clear the lane, the firing lane. And, it was getting to a point that I was starting to get comfortable being out on the stands by myself because I was always worried that I was going to mess something up. It was like I am not a good sit still person. So I was, very antsy. And, he left me, I guess it was one evening we got in a little late. So we just went up there to sit in a couple of stands and, see if we could catch anything, before it got too late. And I was up in the stand by myself. And I tell you, I honestly, I didn't think much of it at first because I thought, oh, this must be like a little family of porcupines. It was one of those where I was sitting that high up off the ground that it was, starting to get dark. And I saw.
And by the way, Missouri does not have porcupines.
No.
No, I guess not.
No.
But, so of course we're in the middle of all this acreage, trees. And it was one of those things that it was starting to get cold and I was kind of, fixated, just staring down at the ground. And all of a sudden I started seeing these.
You described them to me as porcupine possum looking things.
Right. And it was like, but it was almost like there were like between 5 and 7 of them. And it was like out of the base area of the trees, they were just kind of individually coming out. And I could hear even like, when the critters are crawling on the ground in the leaves, I could hear the leaves crackling. So in my mind, I was like, boy, I guess these guys are they're nocturnal, so I'm trying to convince myself that whatever I'm seeing. Now, when they were coming out, they were all kind of, I'm not going to say hobbling, but because I was so high up, I was just seeing, it was almost like they were walking on all fours or hobbling on two because it almost looked like they were kind of rolled over. And, I kept looking and watching and I kept thinking, what are these? And I mean, obviously, any kind of critter and it's getting dark, I don't want to make noise anyway. So I just sat there and waited for my husband to come get me. But it seemed like they came down and out of the base of the area of the trees. And it's not like they were all grouped up together. It was weird because it was like almost like different trees they kind of appeared out of. It was almost like they were all by themselves. So I don't know. I've never done enough research to figure out if it's something like if they are in families or if they're more, single souls or what. So, but yeah, I mean, it seemed like, I heard them walk and then it was getting darker. And after a while, I just didn't hear anything anymore. So I don't know where they went. Because as it got darker, and again, I didn't think I was encountering anything that bizarre. I just wanted to know what it was. And
yeah. Well, Kelly and I had dinner a couple months ago, and she started telling me this, and she's like, I have no idea what it was. So I'm Googling every weird cryptid and humanoid that I could think of. And
well, I did that next morning.
And you sent me, she said, this is what I saw. And I'm going to show a picture, and this isn't a great picture, guys, but I'm going to show this picture here of what a Puckwudgie is.
Yeah. And in real life, again, in real life, wouldn't it be great if you could capture a real picture of one? I mean, what are the odds? I saw that once in a lifetime.
Yeah. Pancho George asked, how big were they? How big do you think they were when they were on standing up?
Right. So when I was up on the deer stand, for me to gauge, I would guess that they were about 2.5, 3 feet maybe tall. But again, from my angle, they were hunched over. I mean, just like that picture where they are kind of balled up and hunched over. But I couldn't tell if they were actually on their back 2 feet or if they were just kind of coming out and, doing their yoga, to get started for the night. I don't know. So,
well, what you said is that like they just appeared.
Yes.
Like just like coming out of the tree, and there like wasn't a hole or nothing for them. They just,
it was just, it was really weird because it was like they each had their own tree. It wasn't like a family that lives in a house. It was almost like they were just kind of coming out individually. And it was, it just seemed to be in that particular area that I was watching. And I thought, wow, that must be something. Because I remember the next day asking my husband and his uncle, because it's his uncle's property. And I asked him, I said, so what were those? I said, they kind of look like a combination between like a porcupine, a roly-poly. And, I'm like naming it off. And they both looked at each other like, I don't know what you're talking about. But I don't know enough. I should have researched about, because it would have been helpful to know if it's something,
right.
And
well,
why
you said you had never told anybody about that after they kind of blew you off.
Yeah. The look that I got from both of them, I thought, okay, then we're gonna put this one up on a shelf for a while.
Right.
Absolutely. So did they see you, or did they just keep?
No, I mean, they did. Like I said, any critter, it's hard to believe that I used to hunt because I'm just so weirded out by critters in general. But so when I was watching these little guys come out from under the tree, I just remember kind of watching going, well, let's see where they go. Well, it was getting darker, so I didn't like, and had I known that it was something phenomenal that I would probably never see again in my life, I probably would have paid a lot more attention, because in my mind, like, porcupines, or, it was a girl thing. I was making up what I wanted it to be, I guess.
Well, you're trying to rationalize what you're seeing, and I get that. I get that.
Well, and here's the thing too, like,
yeah, they never looked up at me. That was the weird thing. Obviously, I was quiet enough and long enough that they didn't see me or hear me come in.
From what I've heard, it's a good thing they didn't see you.
Right. They are nasty creatures.
And they will do things to people to like make them fall off of cliffs, make them suicidal. They will follow them home. They are nasty creatures. And so it's a blessing, honestly, that they didn't see you and you sat there quietly.
Well, they compare them a lot from things that I've read. They compare them a lot to gnomes, which everybody thinks, oh, these gnomes are nice and sweet, like the one I have in the back, that they're nice and sweet.
Yeah.
And actually, in reality, they are not.
Yeah.
Right.
It's, you know, it falls in line with the brownies, all of those.
Mhm.
I think it is a good thing they didn't see you, because I mean, a lot of people said this, and I saw a statement that says the best thing that I'd have if I saw a Puckwudgie is a hockey stick.
Oh, really?
You know, and I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
You know, I think they're along the Fae lines.
Like with
on the
fairies
supernatural
and
side.
things like that. With
Yeah,
fairies
I
and
think
stuff.
they're on the supernatural side versus the cryptid side. I think they're supernatural.
Yeah.
Which, again, that's not good, because that's hard to get rid of and hard to get away from.
Well, see, and I have a tough time with the supernatural because in my mind, I heard them walking. I heard the leaf. To me, that was full on flesh and blood, but I never saw a face. But
yeah. Well, here's a question for you. A spiritual Odyssey asks, crazy question. Do you think the creatures might have been the physical embodiment of the tree's spirit? Good question.
Well, I guess it could be, but
anything's possible.
I mean, if that's how it wants to be portrayed, I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah, because I don't know how true it is, but they say they're also a type of shapeshifter. So,
well, they say that a Puckwudgie can be a shapeshifter. They can turn into like a regular forest animal and things like that.
They can do all kinds of things. Yeah. So, I mean, I think you got very lucky.
I do too.
Very lucky not to see one, but many.
I know,
and not be seen.
That was a weird thing too. Like I said, it just seems so odd that there are, like I said, there were like, I want to say it was about 5 of them, and they each came from coinciding tree, areas behind trees and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Lord knows, when we were hunting out there one year, there was also a time that, I didn't know what was it, mountain lions or bobcats, whatever it is.
Right.
I mean, it was at the point where we had our children, and each of us took a child with us to go hunting. So I had my youngest one in a tree stand with me, and he had the oldest one. And I told my daughter, Melissa was with me, and we had a beautiful, little doe checking out the area. And there was a big buck that was coming in, and I said, we're just going to wait for him to come out the rest of the way, because we're not going to just go firing willy-nilly. But I heard this loud hiss before I took my shot, and I didn't take a shot because I heard a hiss or some kind of a loud hissing noise, and they all got spooked and ran off. So in hindsight, was it possibly one of the mountain lions? Could it have been because it was in the same, in the same time frame as, us still going out there and going hunting? Or was it possible that if they shapeshift, that they scared the deer off? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Krista's dog's going crazy. Somebody must be coming in the door. But yeah, and I get that. I wonder though, because somebody said, is it because they didn't sense any threat that they didn't even bother looking at you, or is it they didn't even know you were there if you'd been that quiet? And I guess I would have to really think about that. I would say, being in the Fae family, they knew you were there.
Right. All right. I would think that too. If we're thinking in that realm, but I don't know. Like I said, how in the world did we escape some of these issues, like the Ouija board issues, when we were younger? You know, again, maybe the higher power knows what's good and what's bad, and just, you know, instinctively will, you know, make us behave.
Well, yeah, and I say this all the time. I mean, sometimes it doesn't even have to do with that. Sometimes it's just like people in general, and the way they are. If you've noticed that some people can attract, like, say, dogs, any type of dog, there's that person that all dogs they are just drawn to. I
Sure.
think it's just what you put off, and that you're no threat to them, and they want to be near you, type of thing. Maybe it was kind of the opposite with them. It's like, she's no threat. We're just gonna go about our business and stay away from her because she's nothing.
Yeah.
She's nothing to us.
She's a
And
flip. Be.
I mean, I wonder if it's just you putting that out there. It's like, I'm not messing with you. Don't mess with me. We're good. Just keep going. We're
Right,
okay.
right. Apparently that's probably the best thing that could have happened.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question here. Oh, Kelly, do you think it was because you're more open to those people? Is that why you've seen them? And sorry about the dogs.
I would say definitely so, because there's a lot of things that I am open to that if I didn't keep my eyes open, that I'd miss a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes I am trying to develop those senses a bit more, but it's not something that has. I went and had a Reiki healing done, and the lady told me that, that she could see where my Akashic records were, and that, that I just have all this ability in me. And I'm like, yeah, well, I don't feel it. It's not coming out. So maybe it's one of those things, you want to see it so bad that is that what you're really seeing? Or, so I'm trying to calm myself and develop a bit more, so that I feel more confident when, if I were to see something like that again, that I would go, oh my gosh, take a picture. Don't let them see you,
Yeah. Well, that doesn't always work out. Ask me. Ask me, because I've been in a position where I'm like, I need a camera, and then I'm like, I can't. It's like you're so stuck in that moment that you're just like, you forget.
Yeah.
You just forget to grab your camera. I mean, I try to get better about it. But it happens. It does happen.
Well,
thank you. Be kind.
Sorry.
She's a dog lover.
My kids went to the football game tonight, and they came in and got the dogs all riled up, and then instead they went to the room, and then the other one comes out here and started petting the other one, and he started barking again. My good grief.
Yes.
Got them all riled up, didn't they?
All of them. They were quiet. They've been good all night. All
Yeah.
three of them.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would definitely be, open to, I'm open to a lot of things. And that's why it's hard for me to say a definite yes or no. It's like, is there a Bigfoot? Well, I think there is. Is there, a Puckwudgie? Well, I would have said no, because I wouldn't have even known what the hell you were talking about until I looked it up and sent Krista a picture going, this is what I saw.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. I mean, at least from the backside is what I saw. I really do wish now that I would have paid more attention and looked to see, where were they going? Did they shapeshift? Because it just seemed so strange that they kind of came out, and it was almost like they got to a certain point, and I just didn't pay attention anymore. And I was, looking at deer hunting, and next thing I knew, my husband was there to take me back. So were they threatened if they saw him with a gun not far away? I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, Me personally, I would have been put more on edge by seeing one of those.
Mhm.
Let alone
Then
5 of them.
Yeah,
yeah,
no kidding.
5 of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
5.
So let me ask you a question. Do you remember where that was in Kirksville? Do we have a road trip coming up, or
Oh gosh, I know that
we could go back there?
I know, right? The thing is that my ex-husband has passed away recently, and his uncle who owned all that land has passed away within the last couple of months. So I don't know if they even have that property anymore, because
Yeah.
his uncle was in a senior citizen place. So
Right.
possible that land might have gotten sold a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to tell you, yeah, let's do that. I mean, I can send a feeler out to his son that had brought him to my ex-husband's funeral service. So I mean, I can put a feeler.
Brandy, you want to go look for Puckwudgies?
No. No, I don't. No, them are nasty little critters. No, thank you. I will pass. I will stick to Bigfoot and Dogmen. Thanks. I mean,
Like a Dogman's Day? Really?
I feel better about it. I just feel better about it. I don't know. Puckwudgies, I just no.
You want
Because they're more on the supernatural side. You know what I mean? I don't know exactly what they'd be capable of if they decided to come after me. So I'm like, gee. So you're kind of like, well, that's my thoughts right now. But then again, something else could happen to change my mind about a lot of things,
And for me, then it was, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, I never in a million years would have, thought that would have been anything to even remember. And the only reason I did remember it was because when I asked, the next day to Eric and Bert, and I was, so what were those little things? They were all kind of coming out of the, and I was given details, and all of a sudden they were looking at each other like, this girl, she ain't on her medication, it was one of those looks. So
she kind of lost her mind.
I know. So, I dropped it. And that was the only reason why I do remember it, was because it was, the looks that I got. I was like, in my mind, I was like, well, I know I saw something, and I know I heard something. I heard physical little footy steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I remember when you told me, I'm like, what are you talking about? We were sitting there talking about it, and so I was trying to find everything I could find, on like fairies. And I think I even showed you like fae pictures, and we're literally sitting at a restaurant drinking wine, looking up different, fays and stuff, just for what it would be. And then when she sent me the Puckwudgies, I'm like, oh my God,
because they remind me more of of course the fae, but they remind me more of elementals, the temperamental elementals.
Elementals.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, no kidding. Sharon has a question going back on the paranormal side. She says, how do you clear an attachment? I've got a process, but I'd like to hear what y'all do. Brandy, do you want to give your 2 cents, and then I can give mine?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing to do is, of course, you cleanse. You start in the house, you open your windows. It just all depends on you. And you got to make sure, of course, what we always say is you got to have the intent of clearing your house. You've got to have that in your mind. Mm-hmm. And of course, you take your sage and open up all your windows, and you push from either one side of your house, clockwise, counterclockwise, however you want to do it, whatever makes you feel good about doing it. Because there's no right or wrong way. There really isn't. It's just how it makes you feel with your intent. But sometimes doing it by yourself, like in my case, is not doing it by yourself is going to work, because I've tried it not once, twice, 3 times, and I'm still experiencing things. So the thing is a little bit more attached than I would like it to be. Normally, like once I clear a room, we'll use iron to mark the doors, or I'll use Apache tears to block the doors and the windows and everything. And I'll even go, after clearing the house, I will go bury obsidian in the four corners of my house. I mean, it's, really, it's honestly, it is all in you and your intent. It really is. And like I said, I'm in a sticky situation. Mine's different. This thing is a clinger. So
also,
I
I also believe too, you can meditate and cut that cord with them. That's the same thing with curses too. There's a lot of that, as well as praying,
Yeah, there's always that.
And
Krista will always tell you, bask yourself in the white light, always do that.
Yeah, I know that. That's where I always go, to the white light in the bubble. And I like, instead of sage, I kind of like the, Palo Santo. Yes.
Yeah.
I kind of like that, because they're saying that it's almost like a double dip.
It's a stronger form of sage in a way that,
right.
It means more business, I guess.
Yeah. It's more like a cleanse.
It's like a double whammy.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with double whammies, right?
Right.
Well,
more.
But I don't think you can. I think that's always I like the smell of Palo Santo. Sage, not so much.
Oh, yeah.
But the Palo Santo, I like it. I like it. I like that smell, and I'll burn those candles in my house regularly because I like the smell of them.
Sure.
And there are different types of sage. There's your regular white, and then you've got your lavenders and all of that, and then you've got your dragon's blood, which means business, and that's something you shouldn't drag out unless you've got something super bad. And
frankincense is another one.
Your frankincense, you've got that. Spiritual Odyssey says put some holy water in a spray bottle. Absolutely. Absolutely. Or just put yourself in the shower and dump holy water over your head. Make sure it drips from the very top of your the crown of your head all the way to your toes.
Yep. And salt. Rock and Rory says use salt.
Yeah. There's just tons of stuff out there. There's tons of stuff out there. Absolutely.
And the thing too about like an attachment is, say it depends on how do I explain this? So say, it's sort of a Native American type thing, you got
to think like that.
You do. So that's when you would more want maybe a shaman, to come in and maybe help you, if it was somebody, who's not Native American and maybe that's when, a minister or somebody like that who could help you. So a lot of that does matter. And same thing with curses. It depends on how that curse was put on you to get rid of that curse, So let me, here's another question from a Spiritual Odyssey. I have a question. Can people who are not ministers or priests bless water to make it holy? I don't believe so. My opinion, I don't believe that. That's just my opinion.
I don't think so. I'm trying to think of everything, and they're no.
Because we could all go and bless some water, but I don't know how potent that is. It'll carry some weight, but
no. I think you have
the holy water that I have, and I do have holy water here, and I haven't had to use it in a long time, but it's from the Catholic Church. So that's, if you're going to use holy water, that's where I would suggest getting it.
Yeah, I wouldn't take any chances. Just none. If you think you need holy water, go get the good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, really. It's not time to be cheap on that. No.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're not Catholic, that's okay. They usually have their bowl right when you walk in the door. Most places they'll have it right in your walk, right in, because people will, cross themselves as they go in with the holy water. So it's right there when you walk in the door. You don't even have to talk to anybody. Just dip your little bottle in there and go.
Yep. And That's what it's there for. It's to bless.
Yep.
That's my opinion. So Kelly, besides the Ouija board deal that we did years ago, what made you get into the weird stuff?
I don't even know what was the one thing, because it's been so many different little things.
Krista.
Yeah. It was
Krista.
because when we were kids, there was already the start of being sensitive, and there were times that we would talk about grandparents and being in the car, and all of a sudden the smell of grandma would come through, and we'd look at each other and go, "Do you smell that? Do you smell that? I mean, do you smell?"
Yeah. And what Kelly is actually talking about, my grandmother, not my granny, but my grandma on my dad's side, she passed away when I was like 5 or 6, and she always wore lilac perfume, always. And everybody said that. You could tell when Grandma Michael was around because you'd smell that. And we did witness that, Kelly.
Yeah.
The lilac. So, I mean, it was just, like you said, it was just kind of weird stuff.
Oh, it's just a combination of curiosity, just enough curiosity to kind of, dabble my feet in there, and then, then I would back out for a while and then dabble in there again. And that's kind of how I've been. I mean, and maybe, again, like I said, I've been trying to work on developing a little bit more. And I don't even know how to measure my progress. I challenge myself with certain, card games and stuff. And I mean, there is progress, but it's a slow thing.
Absolutely, it is.
Sometimes it's more so than others. Some days it's like, I got nothing. There's no, it's like there's nothing going on. And then days,
Right.
Where something's going, I know there is,
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too, like, and if you're sick and you don't feel good, and actually Kelly and I were supposed to be hanging out tonight and going to dinner. However, she grabbed COVID.
I did.
So she's actually at home with COVID right now.
Yeah. So she's quarantined.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah. So, but like when you're sick and things like that, they tell you, not to try anything,
Right.
Right. Like that. You want to be 100%.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Focused.
They do
You need to be focused. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's why I tend to try to do things more so in the morning, like before work. I'll go and sit in the parking lot across from the office, and sometimes I'll just do a little 10-minute meditation. Sometimes I will have time to do a little meditation and do a little, work with the cards and stuff like that. So, it just, like I said, it's in small steps, but I'm making some progress.
Yep. You'll get there. You will get there.
Yes, you will.
Yeah. We're actually past the hour and a half mark.
Yep.
This has been a fun show.
It has. It's gone by fast. It really has.
It really has. Thank you for coming on, Kelly, and agreeing to do this.
Yes, and thank you about the Puckwudgies, because you know what? They just are not. They're not anything that I really want to ever meet, ever.
Right. Well, now that I know, in hindsight, I don't want to be around them anymore either.
Right.
No
Absolutely.
kidding. Kelly, don't hang up. Stay on after the show backstage. And I want to give a quick shout out again to Letitia for becoming a member. We appreciate that. BMR for the donation, Maggie M10, Pancho Sorge, and Be Kind. Thank you to all of you guys. We appreciate
Thank you so much, you guys.
Each and every one of you guys. So, tomorrow night, actually, we're doing an impromptu show. Well, kind of a special show, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
We have Josh Turner from Paranormal Roundtable. He'll be on tomorrow night with us at 8 p.m. So if you guys can tune back in here and catch Josh on with us, we're going to be talking, telling some ghost stories and that good kind of stuff.
Yeah, because, Bootober is almost over.
Yeah, it is.
I'm like, I'm upset about it. But, hey, at least we're going to go out, with some ghost stories. That's what we need to do.
That's right.
Absolutely. So anyway, we do appreciate everybody, and tune in tomorrow night, and we'll see you then. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Thank you. Good night.